Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into how modern cyber attacks act like elaborate bank heists, hidden deep, deep inside your computer's hardware and operating system. We usually think of malware as someone kicking down the front door of our digital lives, right? Triggering alarms, leaving obvious footprints everywhere. But the most sophisticated threats today, they don't kick down doors. They're already inside the building, using the bank's own security systems against it. They're predicting the teller's movements and rewriting the ledgers without ever sounding a single alarm. So let's jump right in and uncover the invisible architecture of modern hardware and kernel vulnerabilities.
Now, there's a phrase that really hits the nail on the head here. It's a computer inside your computer. What's absolutely wild about this is that it refers to deeply embedded hardware components that are operating completely below your main operating system's radar. We're talking about technologies like Intel's Converged Security and Management Engine or the AMD Platform Security Processor. These are literally fully functioning microcomputers sitting right inside your main processor. They have their own memory, their own clocks, and get this, because they can share your host computer's MAC and IP addresses, any network traffic they generate is completely indistinguishable from your normal traffic.
Section 1. The Invisible Digital Threats.
To really understand how deep this goes, we have to talk about privilege rings. You're probably familiar with this. Your apps run at ring 3, your OS kernel runs at ring 0, and hypervisors, the software managing your virtual machines, run at ring -1. But those embedded management engines we just mentioned, they run all the way down at ring -3. Because they run on their own memory and network stacks at that level, they are an incredibly stealthy avenue for potential exploits if left unguarded. They actually persist even when the machine appears powered off, entirely outside the control of your standard host security software. No way your standard antivirus is catching that.
Section 2. Speculative Execution Explained.
Let's zoom in to a microscopic level. It's fascinating how your CPU's desire to save time actually creates massive windows for data thieves. This brings us to a class of vulnerabilities that completely shook the cybersecurity world: Meltdown and Spectre. These aren't just your run-of-the-mill software bugs. They are fundamental flaws in how modern processors try to speed up computation. See, modern CPUs absolutely hate waiting around. If they reach a fork in the road, like a branch in the code, they'll actually guess which path you're going to take and start executing it speculatively. If they guess wrong, they just throw the work away. But here's the catch. The discarded work leaves invisible traces. To pull off a speculative execution heist, attackers follow 3 precise steps. First, the priming phase places the system into a desired state, like flushing the cache. Next, the triggering phase manipulates the CPU into speculatively executing a malicious path that touches secret data. And finally, the observing phase uses a side channel to measure the exact time it takes to access memory, revealing the secret data that was supposedly discarded.
Take a look at a specific variant known as a half-specter attack, especially how it works in a cloud environment. It's essentially like tricking a bank teller into bringing a highly secure ledger to a shared public window. The attacker tricks the hypervisor into speculatively fetching secret data right into the shared Level 1 data cache. And before the CPU realizes its speculative mistake and tries to hide the data, a sibling processor thread, which is controlled by the attacker, quickly steps in and steals the information through that shared cache. It is a high-speed, entirely invisible data leak.
Section 3. Dynamic Data Rootkit Attacks.
All right, let's pivot away from the hardware for a second and go up to the operating system kernel to meet the ledger forgers. While speculative execution steals data by looking through invisible hardware windows, kernel rootkits take over the system from the inside, and the most elusive of these are dynamic data kernel rootkits. Unlike traditional attacks that break in by injecting malicious, unauthorized code into the kernel, dynamic data attacks forge the bank's ledger by manipulating existing, dynamically allocated kernel data structures. Instead of bringing in a new malicious weapon, the attacker just uses the operating system's own approved functions to quietly rewrite variables. We're talking about altering network usage status to hide massive data exfiltration, or deleting a process from the active task list to make a malicious program completely invisible to the system administrator.
And the crucial point here, the reason this is so dangerous, is that because they only use already approved kernel code to modify variant data, they don't trigger any standard code integrity alarms. Traditional defenses are always looking for unapproved code trying to run, but dynamic data attacks? They have zero code integrity violations. Plus, because they target variant data that naturally changes all the time anyway, taking a static snapshot of the memory won't flag anything as suspicious. To the guards, everything looks perfectly normal.
Section 4. Virtual Machine Monitors Defend.
So how exactly do the bank architects redesign the vaults to stop attackers who are already using the authorized keys? Well, if we can't look at the code and we can't just take static snapshots of the data, we have to look at how the data is being accessed. This is where virtual machine monitors, or VMMs, step in to defend the system transparently from the outside. They actively block kernel data tampering by enforcing what's known as an access invariant. Now, an access invariant is a brilliant concept. It basically dictates that specific kernel data should only ever be accessed or modified by the specific functions intended by the original operating system designers. By strictly mapping out these relationships, the VMM can expose dynamic data attacks when approved code is used illegally. Like, for instance, if a generic copy function suddenly tries to override a highly sensitive process list, the system knows something is very wrong.
To actually enforce this in the real world, researchers developed primitives called memory guards and watchpoints. By deploying these transparent watchpoints from the outside, the VMM can preemptively detect changes to monitored kernel data states in real time. Whenever a memory write occurs in a protected range, the VMM instantly intercepts it, checks the program counter to see exactly who is trying to write to it, and if it violates the access invariant, the attack is blocked right then and there.
Section 5. Blocking side-channel leaks.
Let's tackle how we board up those invisible side-channel windows created by the CPU's speculative execution that we discussed earlier. Software developers can actually mitigate these risks by inserting barrier instructions directly into the code. Think of these as a giant, hard stop sign for the CPU. Commands like LFENCE on Intel and AMD processors explicitly prevent the CPU from taking risky speculative execution paths. When the processor hits this instruction, it stops guessing, it waits for all previous instructions to actually finish, and only then proceeds. It's great because it removes the vulnerability at the root cause, but the downside is it requires finding and patching every single vulnerable spot in the code.
Another totally fascinating software tactic for dealing with branch misprediction is the ret polling. A ret polling safely traps the CPU's speculation in an endless loop, which completely prevents attackers from steering branch predictions across security domains. It effectively bounces the speculative execution into a safe, controlled area, while the actual architectural execution just continues normally in the background. It's a really clever way to patch existing hardware without having to wait around for new microcode updates.
Section 6. Isolating modern security domains.
Finally, let's look at the macro level to see how separating memory access protects sensitive structures. Because, hey, if we can't entirely stop speculation, we can at least make sure there is absolutely nothing valuable for the attacker to see and no channel for them to communicate it back. By taking specific steps to isolate security domains, we remove the very observation channels that side-channel attackers rely on. For example, techniques like KVA shadow split user and kernel page tables. This means sensitive kernel memory simply isn't mapped at all when user code is running. If an attack like Meltdown tries to look for it speculatively, it just isn't there. Gone. Furthermore, by removing shared physical pages between virtual machines and mapping guest memory as non-cacheable, we destroy the shared cache lines attackers use to extract their stolen data. We can even implement blind hypervision architectures. This is an incredible feat of hardware-software co-design. It ensures that even if a hypervisor is fully compromised or goes malicious, it completely lacks the hardware authorization to access or modify the private data of the virtual machines it hosts. The memory is physically partitioned, and a secure loader handles all the encryption and decryption on the fly. The hypervisor becomes quite literally blind to the data it manages.
Understanding these brilliant mitigation strategies, from enforcing access invariants against dynamic data rootkits to deploying ret pollings and blind hypervision, leaves us with a really critical question to ponder. As our hardware becomes increasingly complex, are we building faster processors, or are we just building new invisible doors? The perpetual cat-and-mouse game of modern hardware security shows absolutely no signs of slowing down anytime soon. But, with a deep understanding of these invisible threats, we can definitely continue to build stronger, more resilient digital vaults. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the technology you rely on.